Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carlos Tapia, President of the San Mateo County Deputy Sheriff's Association. I want to start off by thanking each of you for standing with us today in solidarity. A special thank you goes out to the following organizations and representatives who are here with us today. We have Supervisor David Canepa, Supervisor Noelia Corzo, Julie Lynn with the San Mateo County Labor Council, John Bouchard with Teamsters Local 350, Pat Griffin with CAL FIRE, Kevin Brazil with San Mateo POA, Vanessa Tapia with Teamsters Women's Committee Local 350, Apollo and Phillip with Teamsters Local 2785, Sean Curran with Mastani Law Firm, and Nicole Bafani with RLS Law Firm. Thank you for your support. These individuals have chosen to stand on the right side of history, not just for San Mateo County, but for the state of California. The legacy of labor unions, particularly in California, has always been one of representation, protection, fairness, and equality for the workforce. I'm going to go off script for a second and talk about something that happened earlier today before this press conference. I had one of my sisters in blue come to me and tell me she could not tell her side of the story. She was visibly shaken, she was upset, and said she could not sleep. As much as she wanted to tell her side of the story, she was afraid of retaliation. To my sister in blue, I tell you this. I'm going to be your voice. The people behind us, we're going to be your voice as well. In a little bit, we'll also tell the stories of other folks who are going through this as well. Traditionally, the Deputy Sheriff's Association and the organization of Sheriff Sergeants has always had a good relationship with the Sheriff's Office administration. A relationship where we could come together to discuss issues, work in collaboration to minimize impact to the public safety and the disruption to the lives of the women and men of this organization. However, today we gather in a time of deep uncertainty. Our Sheriff's Office is gripped by an atmosphere of unease and retaliation, largely due to the conduct of Chief of Staff Victor Ij. His behavior toward employees has been nothing short of reprehensible, leading to emotional distress among both sworn officers and civilian staff. His inappropriate and outsized influence over the command staff has left many too afraid to speak out. Let me be clear, these allegations are not fabrications of the board. They have been witnessed by numerous of our staff members, both sworn and civilian, and brought to the sheriff's attention. Yet nothing has been done. This disregard for employee well-being goes beyond mere management oversight. It's a violation of labor laws. At a time when the Sheriff's Office faces challenges similar to other law enforcement agencies, Victor Ij represents a problem that is unique and intolerable. His behavior is actively harming this agency. As a result of the DSA and OSS boards have taken the unprecedented step of holding a vote of no confidence to Victor's ability to serve responsibly and positively within the Sheriff's Office. This is the first time in Sheriff's Office history this has been done. Following the surfacing of these retaliation allegations, the Sheriff had a choice. Instead of launching a thorough investigation or taking appropriate action, she chose to dismiss our concerns. She accused us of being small, a disruptive group, and even went as far as alleging we are engaged in character assassination. In response, we held a vote of no confidence, and the results were overwhelming. 306 in favor, with only 12 opposed from the DSA and OSS memberships. Despite this mandate, the Sheriff has doubled down, ignoring the facts and choosing to hold on to her version of events. The situation cannot continue. The men and women of the Sheriff's Office deserve to work in an environment free of fear and retaliation, where we can be heard and respected. I will now introduce you to the next speaker, Hector Acosta.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hector Acosta. I am the president of the Organization of Sheriff Sergeants. Myself and every board member of the OSS and DSA became board members to make the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office a better place. There is no incentive to join the board. In fact, many of us on the board now fear retaliation. We truly did it for the betterment of this organization. With that said, I would like to thank the Deputy Sheriff's Association for all their hard work, and we stand united with them. In law enforcement, we are fact finders, and we report those facts. What we have stated to our members and the public the last few weeks are facts. Unions have not been treated fairly. There has been little communication with the unions. Working conditions have changed without input from the unions. Lieutenants have recently unionized and joined the OSS, which has never been done before because of unfair treatment. Those are facts. That does not make the unions, their members, or the board members bullies. There was a vote of no confidence against Chief of Staff Victor I&J for numerous reasons. The final vote was 306 in favor and 12 against. This is not character assassination, not political theater, simply facts. When we asked why the sudden increase in staffing in the jails, the only answer we got was, it's a safe number. What the public doesn't realize is their safety is being compromised as we struggle to fill patrol spots because deputies are mandated to work 24 hours of overtime every 2 weeks, with 18 of those hours being in the jail. The jails absolutely need to be safe for inmates and staff alike, but the general public also deserves to be safe and have an adequate number of deputies patrolling their streets and neighborhoods in case of emergency and to respond to and deter criminal acts. It would have been nice to have a conversation and some compromise to ensure all divisions in the Sheriff's Office are equally safe, not just the jails. These are the facts. No name calling, no buzzwords, just plain old facts. What the unions want is fair labor practice, inclusion, and safety for everyone. I would like to thank the Board of Supervisors for taking our concerns seriously, and we value their efforts in being transparent. We appreciate the Board of Supervisors having Judge Cordell conduct an independent investigation, and we look forward to reviewing her findings. Lastly, and most importantly, I would like to thank all of our dedicated sworn staff, who on average work a minimum of 108 hours every 2 weeks. They have been doing this for several years now. This has not been easy. In fact, it's been exhausting. Our sworn staff has had to make a lot of personal sacrifices because of the demands placed on them. These women and men are the backbone of the Sheriff's Office and deserve praise for keeping the citizens and visitors of San Mateo County safe. Thank you.
Next speaker will be David Canepa, Board Supervisor.
Great. San Mateo County Vice President David Canepa, C-A-N-E-P-A, pronounced Canepa. You know, before I get into my comments, I want to recognize my colleague, Supervisor Corzo, for being here. And I know there was a lot of interest from the press relative to Ladoris Cordell and the investigation. I am not going to speak to that or address that today. So let me just be very, very clear. You know, I'm here today for a couple reasons. One is about trust. And we need a sheriff that we can trust. Let me say that again. We need a sheriff that we can trust. And trust only emanates from our employees. It's my responsibility on the Board of Supervisors, if I see that our employees feel as if they're neglected, they're not being heard, the sheriff is not being responsive, we really have to lean in. I want to thank you, Carlos, and I want to thank the members besides me. To come up here and to speak takes a lot of courage. And I'm extremely proud of our law enforcement, of our Sheriff's Department, our OSS, DSA, for having the courage and conviction to do so. Make no mistake about it, any form of retribution against these employees or other employees that speak out is not tolerated. will not be tolerated, nor should it be tolerated from any other department heads. We always talk about law enforcement being our heroes. They are our heroes. And in this particular case, we need to listen to our heroes and what our heroes are saying. The vote, I believe, was 96%. What we're hearing from our heroes is that they need help, they recognize a problem, and it needs to be fixed. It is incumbent on this sheriff to make sure that she listens to the employees of this organization. I can't sit by idle or stand idle and to see our employees being treated the way they're being treated. And so let me just close by saying this. Let me close by saying this. It is truly, truly important that the sheriff meets with the DSA, meets with the OSS, sits down, has concrete conversations. What the sheriff is doing now is not working. And so my ask today for Sheriff Corpus is to have a concrete conversation, and whether that's locking them up in the room for hours upon hours, to really help figure out these problems. I will not, as the Vice President of San Mateo County, compromise public safety one scintilla. I just won't do it. And so we need to make sure that our employees are safe in our jails. We need to make sure that the people who are in our jails, the prisoners, support staff, that they are safe. And so the sheriff, through leadership, really needs to step up and to make sure that she solves this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Next speaker will be Sean Curran with the Mestagni Law.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to first introduce myself. My name is Sean Curran, and I'm an attorney at the Mestagni Law Firm. Our office has represented men and women in public safety for nearly 50 years, and has represented the San Mateo Deputy Sheriff's Association for nearly 2 decades. I'd like to take a moment to commend the brave men and women standing beside me today, as I know this vote of no confidence was something this group desperately tried to avoid. Sadly, the DSA and the OSS were left with no choice. From the moment Sheriff Corpus was sworn in as the Sheriff of San Mateo County, the DSA and the OSS have tried to work collaboratively with Sheriff's administration to resolve many issues which plague the Sheriff's Department. Historically, the Sheriff's Department and the DSA have worked together with mutual respect and partnership to solve problems. Once this administration took over, the dynamic changed. President Tapia and the DSA were dismissed repeatedly, fracturing the relationship. The reason for this fracture is Victor Anel. And for those who don't know, Mr. Anel worked on Sheriff Corpus's campaign and turned Chief of Staff for the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department, a position which never existed previously. As the newly crowned Chief of Staff, Anel has inserted himself into just about every facet of the Sheriff's Department. It's been reported that Anel has ruled through methods of intimidation and retaliation. This situation is regrettable and was avoidable. The DSA does not relish having to take this action. I first started working at Mestagni roughly 16 years ago. I joined the firm because I truly wanted to serve the people who risk their lives to protect us. I have had conversations with the sheriff's employees who have been reduced to tears due to facing retaliation. I find it difficult to advise an aggrieved employee they should come forward, but at the same time I cannot ensure they will not be retaliated against. Most employees are not willing to risk their livelihood and ability to provide for their families. It seems Mr. Anel preys upon these legitimate fears to intimidate workers into compliance. Despite his intimidation efforts, it's been reported at DSA that employees have in fact filed complaints. When asked by reporters of the San Mateo Daily Journal recently about personnel complaints being made to Human Resources concerning him, Annell responded, quote, "There aren't any." This denial is demonstrably false. The people of San Mateo County rightly expect the Sheriff's Department employees to be held to a higher standard. The standard to expect the Sheriff's Department to be truthful. If any Sheriff's Department employee is found to be dishonest, they're terminated. Will that happen in this case? The DSA and the OSS do not have confidence Mr. Annell will be held to account. When asked about this vote of no confidence, Mr. Annell was quoted as saying, quote, "What we face today is resistance to change and a lack of respect from a few individuals, not a reflection of failed leadership." This statement speaks volumes about Mr. Annell's leadership. These few individuals are in fact hundreds of individuals. The result of the vote of no confidence was overwhelming and resounding. The employees you purport to lead have absolutely no confidence in your ability. But instead of taking responsibility or having even the slightest bit of introspection, Mr. Annell blames others. He's quoted as saying, "I don't give any validity to the vote." This is the problem. What he is actually saying is that he gives no validity to the voices of the men and women in the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department, nor to the values and laws of the collective bargaining process. It brings the DSA no joy to have filed several unfair labor practice charges against the Sheriff's Department, and specifically against Mr. Annell for attempting to encourage members of the DSA to vote out the sitting members of the board. This anti-union conduct is outrageous and a violation of the law. We intend to vigorously prosecute the charge in PERB. This vote of no confidence has been dismissed as, quote, political theater. It's not. The DSA is enforcing its right to representation. It's not political theater to enforce collective bargaining rights. It's not political theater to expect Sheriff's Department administration to uphold the values of the Sheriff's Department. It's not political theater to expect our leadership to follow the laws. What is political theater is to say there's no validity to the vote. It's political theater to refuse to listen to your employees and refuse to acknowledge any mistakes. This vote of no confidence is not political, but rather the sad reality of the state of the Sheriff's Department, and the people of San Mateo County need to know how their brothers and sisters in blue are being mistreated. The DSA and the OSS are committed to making the streets of San Mateo County safe for everyone to enjoy. The DSA and the OSS are committed to making the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department a desirable place to work again. Without this, the people who suffer most are the residents of San Mateo County. At the end of the day, the DSA and the OSS are hoping to have confidence in the sheriff to do the right thing. Providing public safety is our primary concern, and we will continue performing the duties to our best ability. We'll continue to protect and serve the residents of the county despite any labor unrest caused by Mr. Annell. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Next speaker will be Julie Lynn with the San Mateo County Labor Force.
Good afternoon. Julie Lynn with the San Mateo Labor Council, representing nearly 100 affiliate unions and over 85,000 members countywide. We talked to you a lot about the environment at the Sheriff's Office, but I've been asked to paint a picture. I've been asked to share some stories from some of our Sheriff's Office employees to give you a little bit better picture of the type of things that they've been dealing with and what led to our current situation. So these statements were written by several current and former employees anonymously. You've heard a bit about the fear of retaliation, which is why they're not here personally. But as I said, I've been asked to share their stories. A few examples to follow. Several Sheriff's Office employees witnessed emotional distress after Chief of Staff Annell berated a former employee shortly before their last day of work, accusing the employee of making derogatory and slanderous comments online, a claim for which there was no basis. Employees of all ranks have been transferred or threatened with transfer from specialty assignments, some for no apparent reason, and some for expressing ideas or opinions that ran contrary to that of the sheriff, undersheriff, or chief of staff. More than one employee had their access to email and county facilities punitively revoked and were told not to come back to the office during their last week of active employment, seemingly because they were moving on to other employment. This left a negative impression on the employees at the end of their employment and hampered the continuity of operations for the positions they were vacating. Several employees have witnessed an additional undersheriff aggressively berating staff members in various meetings. One sworn woman of rank was very upset after he called off duty at a late hour to interrogate her for several minutes, imply that she was neglecting to do her job, which was false, asked the same questions over and over in a hostile manner, and concluded the call by blaming this individual for wasting his time at 9 p.m. This officer said that in over 25 years here, she's never been spoken to like that before, and was very upset at that interrogation. She's concerned that the hostility will cause problems for other staff. Several high-ranking employees left the sheriff's office prior to their retirement age, an unprecedented action by one, let alone so many. The loss of institutional knowledge associated with these separations are detrimental to the sheriff's office and may have been avoided had some of these leadership challenges been addressed. While the sheriff is committed to the 30-30 initiative and repeatedly touted the number of staff she's hired since taking office, in this time of extreme staffing shortages, it's worth asking how many staff, particularly women and those in leadership roles, have left and why, and how this lack of retention hurts the office. The office is already understaffed by over 100 workers. If this is the environment within the sheriff's office, how are we to effectively recruit and retain to address that staffing shortage? The sheriff's office lieutenants, a previously unrepresented group, recently joined the organization of sheriff sergeants to protect themselves after they were told that they could lose salary and benefits with no ability to negotiate with the county. They've also been excluded from management meetings and left out of decision-making in matters previously under their purview, such as staffing plans and lower-level hiring decisions. To reiterate what President Tapia said, this isn't a small group of malcontents. This is an entire workforce telling our sheriff, the top public safety official in our county, that the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office isn't a safe place to work. These are folks that are asking for help. These are people that are asking for change. And these are workers that are asking Sheriff Corpus to step up and to put the department back into the department that we all know it can be, in the San Mateo County way. San Mateo County is better than this. And if we're able to all come together to address these issues, then we can get back to where we need to be, committed to the public safety, even more committed to fulfilling the needs of the county, and our officers in our law enforcement community will have all of the necessary tools to do so.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for joining us here today. Lastly, I want to be clear that this press conference is not against Sheriff Corpus. My hope is that the sheriff listens to her employees and comes back to the negotiation table and investigates the allegations against Victor INJ. I'm gonna leave you with a quote, as the great Cesar Chavez once said: "The fight is never about grapes or lettuce. It's always about the people." Sadly, our sheriff has forgotten about our people, but our unions have not. We will continue to fight for the well-being, safety, and respect that every employee and the residents of San Mateo County deserve. Thank you.